Hello and welcome to Sovereign RPG, where we talk about everything RPG. I am Sovereign, and today we're going to have a look at Colony Ship. It is a post-Earth role-playing game that just released on early access on Steam a couple of weeks ago. I believe it was the 6th of May. And it looks like a kind of cross between XCOM combat type stuff and the Wasteland series. So I'm just going to give you my general first impressions on this game. We're going to sort of play through it, and I'm going to do some cuts in there to sort of show different aspects of the game and what I think about those aspects of the game. So let's get straight into it. First off, I'd just like to say that I really am digging the soundtrack and the general aesthetic for the game. I have liked the look of a lot of the screenshots and the videos that they have put out. This is definitely a game that I can sink my teeth into. But is it worth your money and is it worth your time? Let's find out. So starting off, we have the character creation screen. Now there is a lot of stuff here. If you're into RPGs and you're into the more in-depth RPGs, like your Wasteland, your Baldur's Gates, your Pillars of Eternity and those sort of things, this is definitely something that you might be interested in. Let's have a look at what sort of pictures we have here. I quite like that one. Now we're going to be creating a character that's sort of going to be a sneaky type sniper. It's what I like to generally play. You have your standard modifiers here. You got your strength, constitution, dexterity, perception, intelligence, and charisma. You have your tag skills, which allow you to learn certain skills faster. Now, depending on what your actual modifiers are on the left-hand side here, depends on how many tag skills you can have, how many stat points and available points you can put in those skills. Then that determines what you can actually get out of your feats. They all have requirements like 10 charisma, 10 perception, 10 dexterity, etc, etc. And there is quite a lot of stuff here for an early access game. So let's see what we can build out of this character. So we have ended up going with a sort of mixture of dexterity, perception, intelligence, charisma with 1 point each in strength and constitution. We're going to be playing a rifle build who's into computers, who likes a bit of persuasion, as I do with all my RPGs. He's going to have some steel and some sneak. And we went with the gifted heroic feat, which is +2 stat points and +3 skill points. There's an awful lot of options you can do here, so if you like getting really in-depth with creating your character, this is definitely a good game for you. Let's get into the actual game itself. Now, it seems like when you start off the game, you do get a load of questions and you get a multitude of answers that you have to go through, and this sort of determines what your character is like personality-wise. But there is an awful lot of reading, so if you are not into sort of reading books and reading the story and that sort of stuff, then this game might not be so much for you. But if you do enjoy reading the storyline and getting really in-depth with the storyline, this may be what you are looking for. You sort of get asked questions like, you get given a situation. So there was a rebellion against the leaders of the ship that you were on, and you sort of have to decide. You get different options there, whether it was a mistake to do that, they did nothing wrong, the mutineers were fulfilling God's will, so you can go a more religious route. It seems to have a really in-depth system, which is good for me personally because I love that sort of stuff. So that did take quite a while to get through all of that reading and writing, deciding what sort of options I want. So if you want a game that you can just get straight into it and start getting into the nitty gritty, which isn't really what you'd pick RPGs for anyway. But if you're more of the less patient kind of gamer, this game probably isn't going to be okay for you. So we're actually in an area called the Pit, which is a sort of downtrodden area underneath. It's sort of in a giant cargo bay on the ship that we are on, it seems like. At the beginning, you get to choose between a rusty pipe pistol, a bolt action pipe rifle, a makeshift shotgun, or a shotty machine gun, but since we went into the rifle school, we're going to go for pipe rifle. So it's quite nice. You get to pick the weapon that you have sort of built your character towards from the beginning. That's a very nice aspect. I do like that. I do have to say the aesthetics, the graphics are very nice, although the camera motion blur when you're moving around is pretty shitty. I don't really like that. Maybe if use WASD is actually pretty decent. You don't get that massive amount of blur that you get when you're moving. It moves around very, very bloody quickly. So as with all of the games of this genre, you hold that tab button down and it highlights everything around the area to sort of see what's going on. And you can sort of see who you can interact with and who you can't. It's where you the eye sort of gives you information on certain objects, I guess. And then when you're speaking to people, it has a little speech bubble there. It doesn't seem like there's any voice acting in this game yet. It is an early access. Maybe they'll add that later, or maybe they'll just keep it as a more written, story-driven type game, which is no problem for me. I don't mind that. So I've just gone into the first sort of NPC shop guy, and I've just been like having a look around and seeing what they have, and like everything seems to be quite expensive in the beginning, like half your money on a bionic eye, but you do get implants and stuff to make your character stronger, faster, better. You know, that sort of thing. You have some quite futuristic stuff like the energy shields and distortion fields, but you are in space and you are on a spaceship, so if they didn't have that sort of stuff, it'd be kind of weird. And we got the steal skill, so we might as well try and steal from this guy. Let's see if it does anything like actually causes some issues if you do get caught or whatever. So it seems I have enough in steal to be able to do some of that stuff, so let's have a look. And we successfully managed to distract Abe and grab a handful of 45 rounds from one of the crates, so you can actually steal from the NPCs, and it's sort of a check on how many skills you have. I don't know if it has anything to do with a roll. Maybe you can fail them. I tried it multiple times and it didn't seem to be an issue. It succeeded every time, so I'm guessing you just have to have the amount needed to do it, and then you can do it, which kind of takes away a little bit from the RPG aspect of the game. But what can you do? You can't win it all. I do have to say there's a lot of reading in this game. It's going to take a little while to get through it. So we do have a couple of choices here. This guy is asking, he's obviously gone into the shop to try and get some money off this dude, off of Mr. Abe. So with this initiative plus 10, that gives you plus 10 to initiative at the beginning, so you will go first on the first round of combat, I'm guessing. I don't think it's a roll to see if you can just kill him straight away, but we'll have to see. So we just went into our first little bit of combat. We have a sort of turn-based, card-based combat in the top left here, so you take your turn order. We have different options over here. You can do snapshot, regular shot. You can decide which part of the body you want to aim for, which have different things that happen. You have on critical, if you hit them in the head, you knock them out for 1 turn. If you shoot them in the chest, they get -2 constitution. Shoot them in the hand, they'll lose taco and 4 AP, and shoot them in the foot and it'll be -15 evasion. They'll be kneecapped, which I'm guessing they'll be slowed or stuck in place for that particular one. You do have to reload in between if you run out of bullets, more of an XCOM-y type aspect to that, which is quite nice. At the beginning, you do get to decide where you want to stand. So I can have the 2 guys standing either side here. I want to stick one of them over here. Again, this is where the sort of XCOM type stuff comes in. You have half cover and you'll have full cover. Obviously, if you're standing behind a full length wall, you'll have full cover, and you get the half cover because obviously you're going to get, like, bullets can go through shelves and shit and over bars, but you can stand behind in a half cover. I wish we could actually get behind the bar itself, but we're going to start the combat. So who's going first? We have Mr. Evans going first. We're going to stick you behind there, run behind there, reaction attack. That's not good. Well, it is good. I quite enjoy the combat when it has that sort of aspect to the game. Let's see if we can actually get a shot off. It shows you a decent percentage chance whether you can actually hit them. This one has a higher percentage chance, so we're going to try and just do a regular shot. We're going to do the bullseye, or we're going to go for the chest for a -2 constitution, or we're going to try and knock him out. Let's see what that is. 78%. Let's try and knock the dude out. Shoot him in the face. We don't actually have enough action points. I didn't have a look down the bottom because we ran quite a long way. That is a rookie mistake from my part. But we can swap that weapon out and try and shoot him with the pistol, and we got a shot off. A little bit of damage there. So the different weapons have different amounts of AP that needs to be used. We should have done a bit of fanning. If you don't know what fanning is, it's when you sort of just pull the cock back over and over again and fire and fire and fire and fire. So you make a sort of like standard one shot when you pull the trigger into a sort of semi-automatic to automatic, so you can fire off quick succession. Right, let's end turn with a little bit of bonus there. Let's move this guy around. He hasn't got very much. Yeah, no, we probably haven't got enough to fire off now. Oh, we do. And we did fire off with a -12 hit there. Oh, he's gone around. The reactionary didn't work. There are things like grazing hits, etc., where they just sort of hit, but they don't do that much damage, but grazing hits are fine. So let us go. Stabbed him with our melee weapon. Get behind that half cover. That was a big hit. We got some dazed. He's dazed over there, so that might be a bit of trouble. We got 43%. It's your standard turn-based combat system. It's nothing new to the genre, but it's still, it feels nice. It feels impactful. And we got one of them down. How can you miss from that distance? He reloaded and missed. Let's try and get a fire shot off with the rifle. And then we missed, which is fantastic. Let's get that out, end the turn, and we'll stab him. And you missed. GG. The combat feels really good. The sound effects are really good. I don't see too much issues there. You get given quite a lot of information when you're actually attacking them, so that's pretty nice. So the UI and everything's pretty clean. You've got a lot of your items here. It's got the grid style, so you have to have certain sizes of weapons. So the bigger weapons will take up more grids instead of having a carry weight, etc., which most games do have. But I don't mind this kind of style. It's very old school. For me, that's a very nice aspect. I do like that. The color scheme is very nice. It gives you information on your weapon slots on the right hand side, your accuracy on those certain weapons. I didn't feel like I had 80 accuracy during that fight. I kept missing every 5 minutes. But the UI definitely gives you a lot of information. The journal is very minimalist, which I quite like. It's not a massive wall of text just to find out what you need to do. It gives you your quest and where you need to go and what you need to do in that quest, and that's it. That's a good thing for me. So after killing those guys, you get a massive wall of text. There's an awful lot of reading in this. I can't reiterate how much reading is in this game. If I literally recorded this as a let's play, we would be reading for most of it. I'll basically give you the gist of it. So what you can do when you're actually talking to these guys, you get choices. So those choices determine which side you're going to be picking, which person you're going to like, which faction you'll be actually dealing with. So you have the two factions in this current first part. You'll have the protectors, which is basically your police, your guards, and then you have your criminal side, but sort of like there's not really black and white. It's more of everything in a gray area, which I do love in my RPGs. That is a really, really good aspect to RPGs. When you don't know if you're making the right decision fully, like it's not as easy to find out if you're making the right decision, and that makes for a much better story. If you don't know what decision you can make, you can actually speak to your companions, the guys that are with you. At this moment in time, there are 3 companions that you can get in this early access, but there will be more once the game fully releases. And you can speak to them and get their take on the situation, and he tells you what he thinks of the bad guy and, well, not the bad guy, the grey area guy, and Braxton, the policeman. His men do a good job, etc. They're sort of seen as the good guys, but they're also quite fanatical. So you get to choose between going one way or the other. You can go and take out the criminal guy, the guy who runs the pit, or you can take out the protectors and help the actual guy who runs the pit. Another really good aspect to RPGs. I'm really a big fan of that, to be perfectly honest. There's so many games out there that have such generic shit choices that it just doesn't make any sense when you do make those choices, and it feels like the choices are actually impactful in this game. So I think I've played enough to get a sort of first impression of the game, and I'll give you an idea on whether you should actually pay for this game into early access. As we know, this is an early access game, so there's going to be a lot of updates coming. I'm not a fan of early access games as much as I used to be. My Steam library is full of early access games that didn't even bloody release. But one thing you can know for certain, early access RPGs have a very good run of health. They're some of the most successful greenlit Steam early access games on the actual market. Now there's 1,000,001 survival games that have come and gone, died, didn't even start, but RPGs have done really well from the bottom up. And they do release really good games at the end of the day. And this seems like it will be one of those games that will be. Now, for who this game should be for, your more patient gamer, one that likes to read a copious amount of walls of text, which I am one of. I don't mind that, as I've said plenty of times during the video, because it's basically 90% of this game was reading. I was playing for about 5 hours, and a lot of it was just going through all of the text and talking to people and getting to know people. The whole area seems very lived in. The lighting is very nice. The graphics are very nice. And the mechanics of the combat I really did enjoy, because obviously I love XCOM, and if you've played XCOM before, you can jump straight in this and it will be not an issue. Now if you don't trust early access, as we said earlier, you can just wait for a couple of updates, see how it goes, and then jump into it in the future. But I'd say give this game a go. I'm not sponsored by this team. I'm not doing this review for money. I just really enjoy RPGs, and this one I had my eye on for a little while before it was actually released onto early access, so I was happy to jump straight in and give it a go. And that's everything for this first impression. If you do like the look of the game and if you do like what you see, I will leave a Steam link in the description for this game and in the pinned comment. If you did find this first impression helpful, remember to throw up a like, throw up a sub. You'll get to see many more RPGs in the future. Fly safe and avoid local chat scams.